It's the Turbo and 2K show.
What is up, 2K crew? Yes, it is that time of the week again, and 2Ks is vacationing, taking the Mrs. 2Ks and the little 2Ks over to Great Wolf Lodge to do some water parking. So just a little last minute getaway for the kids while they're on vacation. So I just want to say welcome and hello and welcome. Thank you for sharing a little bit of your Sunday with us. Um, like like the like the title says, did the did the committee get the playoff selection, the teams, did they get it right? Did they get it right? We had a big game kicking off the weekend on Friday, three more to follow on Saturday. So we're going to get into that. I got a little bit of news, but and like I was telling the TikTok crew here, I actually did some research. 2K crew, I actually did some research. What it's going to mean, I don't really know, because in doing the research, it really didn't kind of back the take that I really wanted it to. But I figured, what the hell? I spent time on it, so I might as well share it with you guys and gals. So why the hell not? Why the hell not? So before we get into that, B82 says, "Here come the Irish." You damn right. Huge win for my Irish in South Bend, first ever home playoff game. It was I had friends boots on the ground that said that atmosphere was absolutely electric, and you could actually tell through the the broadcast. I mean, I don't know if it was just ESPN's cameras as compared to NBC's, but man, it was it was noticeably louder even at home. And I'm sure that and from what I've been told, it was absolutely, like I said, absolutely electric at the stadium as well. But yes, like I said, we got a whole lot of that going into it. So everyone over on TikTok, welcome. Go ahead and give me a follow on there. Everyone tuning in on YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, love each and every one of you guys and gals. Welcome to the 2K crew, and go ahead and hit that follow, like, subscribe, hit the bell so you get notified every time we go live. And for the OG audio listeners, whether you got us on in the car or you got us on the treadmill, we love each and every one of you. You are the guys and gals that make this more fun to do. And for those of you that are commenting on our TikTok videos, we do have normal day jobs. This does not pay the bills. As a matter of fact, this is one of the bills. So I don't know where everyone thinks that all people that do shows like this are being paid, but hand up, never received a dollar. Never received a dollar. So can we please stop with that comment? Can we please stop with that comment? But let's jump into some news, because it's for, even though I'm juiced up, I got a lot to go over, and I'm very excited. We do have to take a couple seconds and melancholy rest in peace to Ricky Henderson. This was from Baseball History Nut over on Twitter. Ricky did pass away yesterday. He says Ricky Henderson is the only player in MLB history to have 3,000 hits and 2,000 walks. And he also had 1,000 stolen bases, a truly incredible career. And for those of you that do follow baseball, Ricky would have told you the same thing. You know, he told you time and time again what Ricky does, how he does it, and he will do it again. He will do it again. So a true one of one. Every single past player that I've seen on Twitter, and every past manager, everyone who's come in contact with Ricky has had nothing but just glowing sentiments about the man. He was an absolute, I mean, like I said, the goat when we're talking about leadoff hitters. So obviously, never been one up until him, and there hasn't been anyone since. And we did kind of hear from Ricky a little bit earlier in the year when he was taught. He said he can't be sad about the Athletics moving from Oakland. He says, "I'm too rich." So just another Ricky being Ricky type thing. So let's see here, because this is not the okay. What happened here? Okay, it is what it is. Whatever. We'll oh, because I never added him. No big deal. No big deal. We'll just lump everything into the college football slate here. Before we jump into this, before we do any breakdown, before we do any sort of analysis, if you will, let's talk about the elephant in the room. Let's talk about the elephant in the room in the fact that after the murmurs started to surface on Twitter, even after the Notre Dame game. Oh my gosh, the three lost SEC school teams would have given Notre Dame. They would have blown out Notre Dame. They would have blown out Indiana. The committee is it's so fucking stupid. They're so stupid. They don't know what they're doing. All they're doing is looking at wins and losses. They're not looking about who was the loss to, this and that. And Lane Kiffin, geez, oh Pete's, dude, geez, oh Pete's. We'll get into some of his tweets, but man, oh man, man, oh man, so many people just gargling SEC cock that it was just unbelievable, absolutely unbelievable. Now, were some of the games blowouts? We'll get to that. We'll get to that. But here's the thing, 2K crew. If you're a 3-loss team, you don't deserve to be in any sort of playoffs. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. You could be the best 3-loss team in the history of college football. Unless there's multiple 3-loss teams. A 3-loss team does not belong in the college football playoff. Period. End of story. I don't care who they are. I don't care who they played. And yes, I'm saying that knowing that Alabama's sitting there with 3 losses. Ole Miss is sitting there with 3 losses. South Carolina, the hottest team, one of the hottest teams going in college football, sitting there with 3 losses on the outside looking in. Here's the main takeaway. Don't lose so many games. Don't lose so many games. Because each and every one of those teams has a dumbass loss, at least one, on the resume. I don't care who you beat. I don't really care. You have a complete and utter blowout loss that caused you from being in the college football playoff. And for those of you that are like, well, the games just sucked. The games just sucked. Well, here's the thing. It's a fucking tournament. It's a tournament. Not every single game is going to be a 1-score game. The tournament is set up for the best teams to have the best opportunity to win. So when we look at these scores, Notre Dame wins 27-17. Yes, pretty much this game was 27-3. Garbage time touchdowns are garbage time touchdowns. Penn State beats SMU 38-10. Ohio State beats Tennessee 42-17, and Texas beats Clemson 38-24. Let's look at a couple of these teams here, okay? Ohio State, Tennessee. This Tennessee's team has never played in the college football playoff. Clemson has, but Clemson is in this spot because their coach refuses to better his team through the transfer portal. Now, that's changed. They have one now. They have one. But for Clemson to get where they are is just it just goes to show you how good of a coach, X's and O's wise, that they have. But to be as stubborn as he is and does not look for extra help in the portal is beyond me. Is beyond me. And they will never contend for a national championship as long as this practice keeps going. Tennessee, like I said, never been there. SMU, never been there. IU, never been there. IU, your team was terrible last year, and your coach said he even wanted to come to this team because he could get 10 easy wins, which he did. And he also said he beats the shit out of top 25 teams. Are you sure? Are you sure? So yes, were there other teams that could have made this competitive? Maybe. But it's hard for me to accept that argument from Alabama fans when you get your doors blown off by Oklahoma. Out of those 3 teams, I would take South Carolina over Ole Miss or Alabama to replace either Clemson, which Clemson won their conference, so you can't take them out, but maybe SMU. But we're talking about one other team, okay? It's the top four get by. So we're looking at 5v12, 6v11, 7v10, and 8v9. Now you would say maybe the 8v9 should be a little closer. Well, Ohio State should have never been an 8, which we'll get into. So here's the thing. It's not about the teams that made it. The argument I will make is the absolute dog shit that is the seeding. Because it, ladies and gentlemen, if you think these scores were bad, let's look at the bracket for next week. The top two are going to be great games. Ohio State, Oregon, Georgia, Notre Dame. Those are going to be great games. But Texas, Arizona State, Penn State, Boise State. You're going to get two more dog walks here in 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 the semifinal, or in one game away from the semifinals. This is ridiculous. So my quote unquote fix for this would not be changing the teams that are in here. Let's change the fucking bracket. Enough with this, the top of the four conference champions getting the number one or getting the automatic buys. It's ridiculous. It's ridiculous. So if we were to look, okay, this is part of the research I did, 2K Crew. If we were to look, I just showed you the current the playoff bracket. If we went by the AP top 25, we would have Oregon 1, Georgia 2, Notre Dame 3, Texas 4, Penn State 5, Ohio State 6, Tennessee 7, Boise State 8, Indiana 9, Arizona State 10. Now they have Alabama at 11, so we'll move SMU up to 11 and Clemson at 12. So the new bracket that would result from that would have Clemson and Penn State, SMU, Ohio State, Arizona State, Tennessee, Boise State, Indiana. Boom, that fixes it. That fixes it right there. So we're not sitting here bitching and moaning about who's in, who's out, which is going to happen. I totally get that. If this was 24 teams, we'd be bitching about 25 and 26. These guys should get in over these guys. We do the same thing with the March Madness bracket, and there's 68 fucking teams, and we're worried about who 69 and 70 are. Get out of here. Get out of here with that. So like I said, it's not the fault of the committee. I believe the committee got the right teams in there. The committee was handcuffed by this stupid rule with the conference champions getting the automatic buys. That's the fix. And I will stand on a soapbox and I'll scream till I'm blue in the face. That is the fix. That right there is the fix. And like I said, if you're a Bama fan, cool. If you're an Ole Miss fan, cool. If you're, if you're a South Carolina fan, cool. Win more games. And not just win more games, plural. Bama, do your job and beat Oklahoma. Don't lay a fucking egg. Don't look stupid. Plain and simple. You beat Oklahoma. Even if you squeak by 1 point or a field goal, you're in. This, and if not, that is a complete and utter travesty to the committee, which I understand they have to take into consideration the people that played in the conference title games. I get that. But there should be repercussions that if you are the bottom one and you don't win and you look terrible, which SMU did, then we have a problem. And one more little snippet here, 2K Crew, before we get into it, because I actually wanted to see, and I know this is long-winded, and I probably should end with this rather than start with this, but this is what I'm fucking fired up about, so let's go. I wanted to see what the kind of the distribution of when it was, because there was so many people going, well, maybe with 12 we have too many teams. Maybe we really had it right when we had 4 teams, which we're never going back to that. There's too much money to be made. The golden goose has already been, born, if anything, which now there's people saying maybe we should go to 14 or 16. No, keep it at 12. It's fine. It's fine. So, 4-team college football playoff started the first season of it was 2015. And just to give you an idea, the number 1 seed has eight championship appearances. First win was in 2020 LSU versus Clemson, and they've won the national title 4 times. The number 2 seed has 5 championship appearances. First win 2016 Bama versus Clemson, and they have 3 eventual winners. The number 3 seed has 5 appearances in the championship, with the lone winner being the 2022 Georgia versus Bama. Number 4 seed has made 2 appearances with two winners. The first appearance was the very first one in 2015, Ohio State versus Oregon. Now, give you let's see out of which conferences these teams came from. The Big Ten has had 9 teams with 2 champs. SEC had 12 teams with 6 champions. ACC had 7 teams with 2 champs. Big 12 had 5 teams with no championships. The Pac-12, rest in peace, two appearances with 0 championships, and then Cincinnati. So when we're talking about these blowouts, I wanted to see what the average score was for the 1v4 and the 2v3 and then the final. The average score for the 1v4 matchups was 33.7 to 26.3. The average 2v3 score was 35 to 26.5. Now, mind you, with that, there's 2 instances where the losing team had 0 points. Thank you, Michigan State. In the finals, the finals for the national championship, ladies and gentlemen, this is the one that blew my fucking mind. We're supposed to have the top 4 teams. And now we're supposed to have the 2 best teams, okay? The 2 best teams. The average final score was 41.8 to 21.7. Get out of here with this blowout bullshit. Get out of here with that. I'm not buying it. I'm not buying it, especially when we're supposed to have the 2 best teams and we get an average of 41.8 to 21.7. Now, the average, you might be asking yourself, well, Turbo, what was the average of the scorers Friday and Saturday? Well, let me tell you. It was 36 and a quarter to 17. So very similar to what we saw in the average final, an average final of the national championship game. Now, why did I tell you all that to tell you this? Well, if we reseeded everything instead of this stupid, top, the champions get the 4 automatic qualifiers. I think A, we have closer games. B, we're more apt to find the top 2 teams rather than this garbage. Because let's take a peek here at this bracket again. Okay, so we get these, it is kind of, I mean, right now, if you're putting your money on it, the top team, the hottest team right now is Ohio State. So is it fair that they have to play Oregon to get to the semifinals? I think Georgia Notre Dame is right where they should be. That's going to be a great game, regardless of who's quarterback for Georgia. I don't really care. As a Notre Dame fan, I could care less. Penn State, Boise State, unless Boise State pulls some shit out, because that Penn State team looked very, very good on Saturday. They might be saying, well, SMU really didn't belong, Turbo. Maybe if it was Alabama or one of these other teams, they would have fucking lost. Here's the thing: A, we'll never know, but B, I really don't even care to argue it. In Texas, Arizona State, kind of the same thing. Kind of the same thing. So we've pretty much got 2 poop bowls and 2 very good bowls coming up here. But, and I also had the argument of, there's so many people going, well, Turbo, look at the fucking March Madness bracket. How many? We're always rooting for Cinderellas. We're always, there's always a team that comes out and yeah, but we've never had an extremely low seed win a national championship. As a matter of fact, there's only been one 16 seed to beat a number one seed. So get out. Just stop with that. Stop with it. Stop with it. I'm not buying it. I'm not buying it. And you might be saying, "Well, Turbo, you just hate the SEC." No, I just hate dumb shit. I just hate dumb shit. So I had mentioned that, and now that woosah, now that I've kind of got that off my plate, got that off my back, let's dive into some of these. But before we do, let's dive into quite honestly one of the best Twitter beefs I've seen lately. So I mentioned that Lane Kiffin was very unimpressed with, in particular, the Notre Dame Indiana game and the Penn State SMU game. And he tweets, "Way to keep us on the edge of our seats, committee. Riveting." Follows that up with later, or this was the first, actually, it was the same one. But he follows that, which I totally didn't grab that one. But he follows up something very similar to this after the Penn State SMU game. Let's check out some of these other ones. Let's see here. Oops, that's the one I had. This is from Chris Van Venetti. 4 lopsided games, 3 blowouts, but I still really enjoyed this college football playoff first round. The home environments really shine through both in person and on TV, and I think we got 4 really good quarterfinal matchups next. Chris, I agree with 99% of that. I don't believe we have 4 really good quarterfinals, but the one thing that I haven't even got to yet was the home field advantage. This was absolutely awesome. Absolutely awesome. If you don't like it, win more games so we can play down, so you can host a game down south. Fair and simple. Fair and simple. This is from Danny Cannell. Danny Cannell has become one of my favorite Twitter followers here lately. He says, "Okay, we weeded out the frauds. That's what the first round is supposed to do." Bingo, Danny. Bingo. Could not say it any better. Another one from Chris. Tennessee, Indiana, and SMU were all correct choices to make the playoffs. Ohio State, Notre Dame, and Penn State are all just really good teams. No shit. Again, that's what a tournament is for. Doug Lesmer. I'm not even going to try it, Doug. Not even going to try it. Gotta love you. Gotta admit, the offensive stats are pretty embarrassing. 3 points, 3 interceptions, only 4.1 yards per play, only 2.3 yards per rush. Wait, sorry. Those were numbers from Alabama's 28-3 loss to Oklahoma. Preach on, my friend. Preach on. Preach on. And we talked about the Lane Kiffin stats here. Joe Klatt, I love Joe Klatt. Some incredibly disappointing takes out there. Indiana football certainly didn't play their best, while Notre Dame football was terrific. However, IU played better than Alabama, getting their doors blown off by a 6-6 OU. Ole Miss football giving Kentucky their only Power 4 win. Preach on, Joel. And here is the quintessential Sam Block at the Block Spot. Thank you for posting this. Alabama got destroyed by a 6-loss OU. Alabama lost to 6-loss Vandy. South Carolina lost 23-3 versus Ole Miss. South Carolina had 3 losses, 0 great wins. Ole Miss lost to 8-loss Kentucky. Ole Miss lost to 5-loss Florida. Indiana belonged. Stop complaining. Bingo. Bingo. So when I say that my take is kind of different, I agree with a lot of these people. But like I said, where I differ is I need that I need that bracket redone. I need that bracket redone. And I think a lot of this would just go right by the wayside. A lot of this would go right by the wayside. So let's kind of go in reverse order while talking about these games. So let's talk about Oklahoma, Tennessee. Or excuse me, Ohio State, Tennessee. Now, like I said when we kicked off the show, 2Ks will be here, but it'll be in video form. It'll be in video form. And because let me give you the preface to this. This was after the Michigan loss. I let 2Ks take the floor for probably 15, 20 minutes. And he started out by saying how great on paper Ohio State is. And man, oh man, did my boy get torched. My boy got torched to I'm pretty sure there's about 700 comments on this video. I think it's over 12 or 15,000 views. So I was hoping he'd be here today just to kind of let him at least get some sort of clap back. But why do that when I can just let him speak for himself?
There is no team in college football that's taking more heat right now than Ohio State has over what happened. And this roster is way, way, way too good. And sometimes that's what it takes, is to be pushed up against a wall and have everything on the line. And this Ohio State team, from this point on to the end of the season, in my opinion, is the scariest team that you can come across. Now, they have a decision to make, and that is, we can fucking put that behind us and we can fucking go for it, or we can just shut down and because of what happened and just be mediocre. But if they go the other way, which is where I think that they're probably going to go, I think Ohio State is the team that can beat every one of these teams.
Couldn't have said it better, 2Ks, because the version we saw of this Ohio State team against Tennessee was absolutely, they were bullies. They did whatever they wanted, whenever they wanted. They ran the ball, they threw the ball, which thank God, because they actually remembered they had Jeremiah Smith, the best wide receiver in college football, who is a freshman. We sat here and talked about it 2 weeks ago. How this was supposed to be the greatest college football team ever assembled. $20 million to get these boys on the field. $20 million. And if they would have played like this every single game, they would be undefeated. They would have played Oregon in the Big Ten title, and they would have won. I guess better late than never. I mean, I don't know. But it showed up. It showed up. Not only did the offense show up, but the defense really wasn't the culprit in the loss against Michigan. This was the offense just sputtering, not throwing the ball, trying to run the ball against a pretty stout Michigan defense. Will Howard goes 24 of 29, 311 yards, 2 touchdowns, and a pick. Jeremiah Smith has 6 of those catches for 103 yards. Abuka has 5 for 81. Trayvon Henderson has 4 for 54. I mean, we had, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Well, Will Howard himself caught a pass. 9 different receivers caught balls. And like I said, Jeremiah Smith has 2 receiving touchdowns. Travion Henderson has 2 rushing touchdowns. Junkins has 2 rushing touchdowns. This all boiled down to Nico not being able to do anything in the passing game. His wide receivers were not getting any sort of separation. His line wasn't blocking at all. And Samson, their number 1 running back, who ultimately the offense kind of runs through, only has 2 carries because he gets hurt. So this is where it kind of, I'm not going to say it broke down early for them, but man, this was belt to ass the entire game. It was 21-0 in the first quarter. 21-0. 21-0. And Nico only threw for 104 yards. He did have 2 rushing touchdowns. And I, for one, am extremely, extremely excited to see how he progresses. Remember, this was his freshman year. Does Tennessee retain him? Who knows? Who knows? But 2Ks was right. This team is very, very good. This team is very, very good. And okay, let's look at FanDuel. Pretty sure they are favored to beat Penn State. No, excuse me, Oregon. Right now, Ohio State's 2.5-point favorite against Oregon. 2.5 points. Excuse me. And rightfully so. They were the most dominant, complete team that we saw either Friday or Saturday. And if I'm Oregon, I'm like, oh shit. Yes, we beat them in the regular season. But damn, that was close. Damn, that was close. Now, what it's going to come down to in that game is the simple fact that Oregon's defense cannot stop anybody. We saw it the last game. We saw it in the Big Ten championship game. We saw it. And if Ohio State comes out and plays like they did Saturday, this game's over because that defense was vicious. Now, Oregon has some dudes. So I'm not saying that it's going to be a blowout. But man, it's going to be fun to watch. And like I said, this was Ohio State, a number 8 seed. The number 8 seed in this fucking tournament is a 2.5-point favorite against a number 1 seed. Can't have that. Cannot have that. If you're the committee, this is what should be the thing that gets you worried the most. Is your number 1 team is now a 2.5-point underdog against the number 8 seed. That should not happen. That should not happen. So yeah, this was belt to ass, dog walk, every other synonym, acronym, whatever. I was always horrible at English, but whatever you want to call it, that's what it was. So let's move on to Texas Clemson. Texas Clemson. I was listening to who the hell was that? I was listening to a podcast earlier today. Todd McShay. And him and his dude said it right. Every time we watch Texas play, it always leaves something to be desired. Yes, they won 38-24. This was the biggest spread out of any of the games, either Friday or Saturday. And they covered. But it's always something like, man, give me a little bit more. Give me a little more. And it comes down to Quinn Ewers. Now, Quinn had he had a good game, wasn't very good. He went 17-24 for 202 yards, a touchdown and a pick. The running game of Texas is what decimated Clemson's defense. Jaden Blue had 14 carries, 146 yards, 2 touchdowns. And Wisner had 15 carries, 110 yards, and 2 touchdowns. They had 292 rushing yards. That's gashing a defense. That is gashing a defense. But for this Texas team to take the next step to be up there with the Georgias and, and the Ohio States and the Oregons, it needs to start with Quinn Ewers. And he is very, very capable of doing all the things that any of these other quarterbacks are doing, aside from the running part, because Ewers is not a running quarterback. He's mobile, but he's not a running quarterback. But if you look on the other side of the ball with Klubnik, 26 of 43, 336 yards, 3 touchdowns and a pick. So theirs was, I mean, granted, a lot of this was catch-up time, so you kind of were forced to throw the ball, score early, score quick. But maybe one could say that Ewers didn't need to throw for 350 yards and 3 touchdowns. But I think I think as fans, that's the performance we want to see, and we really haven't seen it out of him. So I'm curious to see against an Arizona State team, which they should be heavily favored. See what they are. 13.5-point favorite. 13.5-point favorite. That is abysmal. That should not happen in this late in the bracket. I'm sorry. I can't have it. Can't have it. But again, this was another beatdown. This was another beatdown. And very similar to Nico Klubnik, I can't wait to see what he does next year. And if Dabo dabbles a little bit more in the transfer portal to get this team some help, I think it'll go a long way. So they don't have to. They're a 4-loss team, 2K crew. A fucking 4-loss team wins the ACC. For one, that should never happen. For two, kudos to Dabo for getting there. But three, Dabo, get in the transfer portal, get some help for this team, get some help for Klubnik, because this team has the potential to be a very, very good team next year. Very good team. Penn State, SMU. Not going to spend a whole lot of time on this one because you blinked and, well, hell, this game was 28-0 at halftime. Jennings throws 3 interceptions, 2 of them for pick sixes. The only thing that pissed me off about this game is it missed the over-under by a touchdown, which I was pissed about that because that totally wrecked my whole parlay for the rest of the day. And Drew Allard wasn't that great either. 13-22, 127 yards, no touchdowns, no picks. They get 90 yards for rushing from Singleton and a touchdown. Allen has 70 yards rushing and 2 touchdowns. But this SMU team could not get anything going at all. At all. Their quarterback looked like he was running for his life because he was. Because he was. That poor dude would not want to be him. Would not want to be him at all. At all. So like I said, I'm not really going to spend a whole lot of time on that one, but Penn State's 10.5-point favorite against Boise State. 10.5 points. So let's get to the one that's near and dear to my heart. Notre Dame 27, IU 17. Now this one has more, I don't want to say nostalgia wrapped up with it. Because even though these two teams are a couple hundred miles away, they don't play each other that often. I believe the last time the Hoosiers beat Notre Dame was like in 1896 or some shit. So this is, even though they're in the same state, not a rivalry at all, whether it be football or basketball. Never really has been. And I believe that this was the 31st, either 30th or 31st time these two teams have played since they started playing football. And this was 17-3 at halftime. And you could have basically called it at that. This Rourke kid for Indiana never looked comfortable at all. At all. He goes 20 for 33, 215 yards, 2 touchdowns, and a pick. His 2 touchdowns came late. You can call them garbage time touchdowns because they were. Riley Leonard probably has his most complete game as a Notre Dame quarterback. 23 of 32, 201 yards, a touchdown, and a pick. And that pick came on the very first, might have been his very first pass, but it was definitely the Notre Dame's very first possession. He also has 11 rushes for 30 yards and a touchdown. But what set this game apart was very early on. Leonard throws that pick. IU gets the ball, drives down, same way, very similar to the way that the Ohio State game started. Rourke throws a pick to Xavier Watts deep in on the 2-yard line. And the very next play, Jeremiah Love takes it for 98 yards and a touchdown. That starts the scoring. And from then on, Notre Dame's defense just proceeded to bludgeon this Indiana offense. And this Indiana defense was supposed to be an extremely good run defense. Now, granted, out of the 193 yards that Notre Dame gained, 98 of those were from one play. I get that. But also Jeremiah Love, after that 98-yard touchdown, barely touched the ball again until like the fourth quarter because he was leading up to the game was experiencing, he was sick. He was sick. So that 98-yard touchdown gassed him. He was done. That's where back like Price comes in, has 11 carries, 32 yards. Jeremiah Love with that 98-yard touchdown has now scored a touchdown in every single game this season. So all in all, this was, like I said, this was the most complete Notre Dame has looked. Was it their best performance? No. But this was a huge win, especially for a multitude of reasons. But earlier in the week, it came out that they were extending Marcus Freeman, which is 125% the right thing to do. 100%. I mean, undoubtedly. And for him so early in his Irish career to beat so many of these top 25 teams, whereas Brian Kelly, he just never could do it. I posted on Twitter shortly after this game. I said, if Brian Kelly was the coach of this team, would they have won? And there was not a single response to that question saying yes. So the right guy for Notre Dame is in place. Because Ohio State was, behind the scenes rumbling to be wanting to get him, as well as some NFL teams. Which I'm not sold on him being an NFL coach quite yet. I mean, I hope he's at Notre Dame for quite a long time. But the environment, the night game, Notre Dame Stadium, the snow earlier in the day, this was perfect. The atmosphere was perfect. The play on the field by far wasn't perfect, but you'll never get a perfect football game. They're just not going to do it. The defense played extremely, extremely well. The offense was very well rounded, but as far as their best performance, no. Now let's take a peek at the Notre Dame, Georgia. Georgia's a 2.5-point favorite. Now, if you took, because I dabble a lot on FanDuel, they had these, I guess you could call them futures, but maybe they were calling them predictions. I can't remember what the exact terminology was. But prior to Friday, you could get on and bet on potential games that could happen. And they had Notre Dame as a 1.5 favorite. A 1.5 favorite. Rumor has it Carson Beck is out, will not play. This is obviously it's a New Year's Day game. Actually, New Year's night, if you want to think about it that way. It's at 8:45. But I'm very excited about this. Very excited about this. Georgia has had Notre Dame's number here the last handful of times they played. And I honestly don't think that Carson Beck being behind center would matter at all. I really don't. Call me crazy. Call me crazy, but I don't. I don't. But since we're on the FanDuel hashtag sponsored, not sponsored, would love to be sponsored. While we're on the betting page here, let's kind of refresh, rewind. Penn State, Boise State, Penn State is a 10.5-point favorite with an over/under set at 52.5. Give me Penn State and the under on that one. We've got two very run-heavy teams. I don't think we're getting to that 52.5 mark. Texas, Arizona State. Texas is a 13.5-point favorite. Over/under set at 51.5. Give me the over on that one. Ohio State, Oregon. Ohio State's 2.5-point favorite. Give me Oregon on that one. I think it's very similar to. Nope, check that. Give me Ohio State, 2.5-point favorite. Give me Ohio State in the over 54.5, the highest score total of all four of these games. Give me Ohio State and the over. Notre Dame, Georgia. Give me the 2.5 points. Over/under set at 44.5. Give me the over on that one. Give me the over on that one as well. Give me the over on that. So that's been our college football playoff. Kind of I guess you could call this a reaction show, even though if you wanted a true reaction show, probably should have done it last night. But I was far too lazy to do it last night, and definitely did not want to leave the comfort of my home and come to the studio at 1 in the morning. No, so that again, definitely know how that we're definitely not paid to do this, because if we were paid to do it, might have been a little bit more motivation to get my ass in here and do this show last night. But especially given some time, given some separation, having a sleep on it, and being able to actually do some research, which since we're not paid, our research department really isn't that deep. It's me and occasionally 2Ks. But I I think it was beneficial to wait, spend a day doing, scouring Twitter, getting the kind of the firepower that I wanted, not needed, to kind of bring this take into kind of this nice little package. I think was beneficial. I think it was super beneficial. Well, 2K crew, we did the recap. You have Turbo's solution on how to fix it. Now, will they listen? Who knows? Who knows? Because, like I said, the field is fine. Fix the fucking bracket. Fix the bracket. We don't need conference champions getting automatic buys. Automatic bids, yes. Automatic buys, no. Nope. Can't have it. Can't have it. There's a lot of people saying, well, what if they reseeded after the first round? There's really no point. Just seed it the right way at the beginning, and it fixes everything. So I'm not sure what extra steps, and then once you do a reseed after the first round, you're just introducing more controversy. So I'm not really buying that either. Not really buying that. Seed it right the first time, and I think all of this it just goes away. It just goes away. I gave you my predictions. Like I said, FanDuel, love to bring you on board as a sponsor. Love to bring you on board. That's all 2Ks and I use, and have strictly used for quite some time. But yeah, this is kind of wrapped up this show. I'm not sure if we'll be doing another show in 2024. If we do, it'll be another solo one for me, because I know 2Ks has already said he's out for the holidays. So you might get another one from me. If not, this will be our last show of the year. But I can guarantee it'll be the last show before Christmas. So I want to take this opportunity to wish all of you a very Merry Christmas. Very Merry Christmas. And one thing I always say, and it's something I've grew up, it's been deep in my veins, is during this time of year, we all get caught up with the material stuff, all the stuff, all the bullshit. And whether that's presents, decorations, food, who's coming, who's not, it's all about who's around your table, not what's under the tree. It's about who you're talking to and who you're spending time with on Christmas or Christmas Eve, like at our house. But whenever you gather, it's about those relationships. It's about those people. The rest of the world can fuck off. All the presents, all the debt that we all consume to get to this point of the year, it's not worth it. It's not worth it. So remember this, 2K crew, as you're out and about. Hopefully all of your Christmas shopping is done. Hopefully. But it's about who's around the table and not what's under the tree. So keep that in mind. That's something I've loved to live by. And you know what? Because the people you're with this year, there's no guarantee they're going to be with us or be with you next year. So take every opportunity, whether it's Easter, Thanksgiving, Christmas, a Sunday. It doesn't have to be a holiday. It could be any day. Just be in the moment, put the phones away, enjoy time with your friends and family. And if this is the last show of the year, everyone have a happy new year. Have a safe new year. And 2025 is going to be insane. I can already feel it. I can already feel it. We have a guest that is confirmed, already in. Just need to figure out a date. Just need to figure out a date. And I, for one, am thoroughly excited. Thoroughly excited. And hopefully, fingers crossed, this guest leads to more, or him being it's a him being a reoccurring guest, which we would absolutely love. Because we do have the capabilities of doing like the AJ Hawk Cam here, not on TikTok, but everywhere else. And if TikTok gets their shit together and actually makes a Mac version of their platform, their live platform, hint, hint, TikTok. I know there's other shit you guys are trying to figure out, like how to stay, open, but get it figured out. Get it figured out. Well, 2K crew, that is it from me. Like I said, everyone have a very Merry Christmas, Happy New Year, and I will see you on the next one. But as always, Jim Rome, we're coming for you.